In the ancient city of Myra, nestled in the region of Lycia in Asia Minor, the moonlight cast long shadows over cobblestone streets. A biting wind howled through the narrow alleys, shaking wooden shutters and carrying with it the muffled sound of anguish. At the farthest edge of the town, a modest stone house stood in silence. Inside, a flickering candle barely illuminated the weary face of a man sitting on a rickety chair. His hands trembled as he buried his face in them, stifling sobs. Across the room, 3 young women huddled together, their faces pale with worry. They were his daughters, and their shared silence was heavier than words. The man finally broke the stillness, his voice cracking as he muttered, "I failed you. Without dowries, there's no future for any of you." The eldest daughter, her voice calm but trembling with determination, responded, "Father, we will find a way. God has not abandoned us yet." But even her words felt hollow. The reality was stark. Without dowries, the family's poverty meant the daughters could not marry, leaving them vulnerable to a life of despair or worse, dishonor. Elsewhere in the city, a young man named Nicholas knelt in fervent prayer. The son of a wealthy and devout family, Nicholas had dedicated his life to serving God and others. News of the father's plight had reached him earlier that day, and his heart had been deeply stirred. "Lord, guide me to be your instrument," he whispered, his voice steady with resolve. Standing, he grabbed a leather pouch filled with gold coins, its weight reassuring in his hands. Cloaked in the quiet of the night, he set out through the dark streets, his steps purposeful and silent. Nicholas's journey to becoming one of the most revered figures in Christianity had humble beginnings. Born around 280 AD in the city of Patara, he was the only child of a wealthy and devout Christian couple. His parents, who were known for their charity, instilled in him the virtues of faith and compassion. Tragedy struck early in Nicholas's life when a plague swept through his city, claiming his parents. Though devastated, the young Nicholas turned his grief into purpose, inheriting their vast fortune and vowing to use it for the glory of God. Unlike other wealthy young men of his time, Nicholas had no interest in luxury or status. Instead, he wandered through the streets of Myra, quietly observing the needs of its people. He believed that charity was most meaningful when done in secret, a philosophy that would define his life. When Nicholas heard about the plight of the impoverished father and his daughters, he knew he had to act. On the first night, under the cover of darkness, he approached their home. Spotting an open window, he carefully tossed a pouch of gold inside. The next morning, the father awoke to find the pouch. As the sunlight glinted off the coins, he gasped in disbelief. "Who could have done this?" he exclaimed. Tears filled his eyes as he realized the amount was enough to provide a dowry for one of his daughters. The following night, Nicholas returned, carrying another pouch of gold. This time, the father stayed awake, determined to uncover the identity of his benefactor. But Nicholas moved quickly and silently, escaping before he could be seen. On the third night, the father devised a plan to catch the mysterious donor. When Nicholas approached, the father leapt from the shadows, grasping his cloak. "Please tell me who you are," the father cried. Nicholas, startled but composed, replied softly, "Give thanks to God, not me. Promise me you will tell no one." Though the father swore to keep the secret, word of Nicholas's generosity spread throughout Myra. The young man, now regarded as a local hero, was deeply embarrassed by the attention. He withdrew further into his faith, dedicating himself to a life of service. Years later, Nicholas embarked on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land, seeking a deeper connection with God. His journey was marked by moments of quiet prayer and reflection, but it was on the return voyage that his faith would be tested. Aboard a merchant ship crossing the Mediterranean, Nicholas joined the sailors in their daily routines, offering blessings and sharing meals. But one evening, dark clouds gathered on the horizon and the winds grew fierce. The storm struck with terrifying force. Waves crashed against the ship, and the crew scrambled to secure the sails. Nicholas, however, remained calm. Kneeling on the swaying deck, he began to pray aloud. "Lord, save us from this peril. Still the waters and deliver us from harm." Moments later, the wind began to subside. The waves grew gentle and the dark clouds parted, revealing a starlit sky. The sailors, trembling with awe, fell to their knees. "You've performed a miracle," one of them exclaimed. Nicholas shook his head. "It is not I, but God who has calmed the seas." The story of the miraculous storm quickly spread, and Nicholas became known as the protector of sailors and those who traveled by sea. As Nicholas's reputation grew, so did the challenges he faced. One of the most extraordinary events in his life occurred after his return to Myra. 3 young boys had gone missing under mysterious circumstances. Days passed and the city feared the worst. Nicholas, moved by the parents' grief, led a search party. After hours of prayer and searching, he had a vision revealing the boys' whereabouts. They had been killed and their bodies hidden in a butcher's barrel. Guided by the vision, Nicholas arrived at the butcher's shop and demanded access to the cellar. There he found the barrel and the lifeless bodies of the boys. The crowd gasped in horror, but Nicholas raised his hands and prayed, "Lord, let life return to these innocent souls." Before their eyes, the boys stirred and opened their eyes. The crowd erupted in shouts of joy, falling to their knees in gratitude. This miracle cemented Nicholas's status as a holy man, capable of interceding with God in moments of dire need. Nicholas continued his ministry with humility and dedication, eventually becoming Bishop of Myra. Despite his high position, he remained devoted to the poor, often sneaking out at night to deliver aid to those in need. When he sensed his death approaching, Nicholas gathered his flock and gave them a final blessing. His passing was peaceful, but his impact would only grow. After his burial, a mysterious liquid began to seep from his tomb. Known as manna, it was believed to have miraculous healing properties. Pilgrims flocked to his grave, and countless miracles were attributed to his intercession. Centuries later, his relics were moved to Bari, Italy, where they remain enshrined. Nicholas's legacy spread across Europe, inspiring the traditions of gift-giving and generosity that define Christmas to this day. Saint Nicholas was more than a historical figure. He was a symbol of selflessness and faith. His actions remind us that even the smallest gestures can create ripples of hope and change. As we celebrate Christmas, let us remember the true gift Nicholas gave. Not gold or miracles, but the example of a life devoted to love, compassion, and humility. This Christmas, how will you carry on Saint Nicholas's legacy? A single act of kindness could be the miracle someone is praying for.